Had a really good past weekend. It was homecoming here on the Bluff, a place you'd rather be than on the Bluff here at Southern University. And players came out and played a tremendous football game, and we were victorious. And we celebrated for about 24 hours, and then we put that on the shelf. And now we're getting ready to go to Tallahassee, Florida, to take on a very good Florida A&M football team.
Coach, I guess you'd have to say it's your team played its best four-quarter game that night. Is that what you saw on film, and was it even better when you watched it on film?
Yeah, it was better than with the naked eye. You know, those guys came out, they were inspired. I told you last week, energy was high in practice. They had great energy. Those guys ran around. They were locked in and focused. Out there at pregame, those guys were locked in, and you know, something different that happened was that we actually lost the toss. So offense went out there first, and but I told them, you know, that's something that we're not going to do. If we win the toss, we're going to always put the defense out there. But those guys, you know, they played well. Played well for all 4 quarters.
You talk a little bit about the offensive line and how it's come along. You made some changes, and specifically some of the things, the players that are playing well, Cam Foster.
Well, you know, Cam has found his groove. He's gotten back into, you know, he had surgery last year that kept him out for the majority of the season. He had to battle through some of the mental things that comes with when you have an injury. And so much so that he finally, you know, broke through that mental barrier and trusted that the wrist was good. And you know, he's been fighting, and he's back to the Cam that we knew that he was capable of being, and as well as the other offensive linemen. Those guys are really playing well. You know, we made some changes, and those guys have done a really good job of gelling together, taking care of one another, looking out for one another, and just playing hard and really trusting. You know, Coach Nivens, the offensive line coach, has been doing a tremendous job of working to find that right cocktail of offensive linemen, and you know, it's been really going well. And Coach Frederick has been doing things schematically and protection-wise to help the young guys and experienced guys some. And so it's been a really good mix, and those guys, and the production shows that.
After the game, you said that was the offensive line's best performance to date this season. After you watched the film, I guess how much more true is that statement?
It's still true. It's true what I said. Those guys, this is their best performance. I mean, we had 295 yards rushing, and we didn't give up a sack for 2 weeks in a row. So hats off to those guys. The guys are really working hard and trusting what we're doing offensively, and it shows. And they work hard in practice. So, you know, you play like you practice. And those guys really practice hard, and it's showing up on game day.
Defensively, you guys shut them out in the second half. Just what did you see from their performance?
They played well. You know, we gave up more rushing yards than we wanted to, but to hold a team to 76 yards passing, hats off to Coach Miller, the defensive staff, and the defensive players. Those guys played lights out. You know, of course, we didn't want to give up again. We didn't want to give up that many yards rushing. But at the end of the day, you know, we played well. We had, I think, 4 turnovers. Guys played well. They played well, and we controlled the quarterback because he was the leading rusher. We did a really good job of keeping him corralled, and so you know, those guys have been playing well all year. So, you know, hats off to those guys for playing well.
How are you guys going to use this momentum to carry you through the rest of your schedule?
Well, again, you know, we always live in the precious present. You know, that's over with now. You know, that's over with. We locked in for Florida A&M. We're trying to stack games upon games, and so the demand is, or the challenge is, how well can we play this week? You know, every week, how much better can we get? Because you can't get complacent, you can't get satisfied. You know, I told them all the praises and the pats on the back, all that's good and fine. But now remember, some of those pats are some of those same people that, you know, go the other way when we come up short. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. So I always tell them, listen, you just got to continue to play well, be our best selves. I believe it's about us, and if we're our best selves, I think we give ourselves a chance to be the best we can be when it's time to play.
How much did Noah grow his game?
He played well. He played well. You know, You know, it was good to see him run the quarterback keeper for the touchdown. He went airborne. I don't know why he went airborne. Caught up in the moment, but you know, he went airborne. But it was good to see that, and that's what he has to do. He has to get back to just trusting what's called and executing. And I tell you again, it threw him off because they weren't expecting him to run. And so when you do those little things, it gives you a little advantage to what we can do offensively, and then it keeps the defense from just pinning their ears back and just attacking the running backs. And the running backs played extremely well. Ran the ball hard. I mean, they was it was a three-headed monster, and it was good to see. It was good to see those guys play like that.
Would you say the main thing that needs to be cleaned up with the offense right now is the turnovers? Because the last 2 weeks, both Texas Southern and Alcorn got a touchdown with a short field to go.
Yeah, no question about it. We talked about that. I mean, ball security, and it's something we work on every single day. And it's really just focus and concentration. And then you have to just know, when I'm in traffic, I'm trying to break away, guys are pursuing, so you got to keep the ball high and tight. It's something that is discouraging for me as a coach, but it's something that can be fixed. And we're going to continue to work on it. We're going to put the emphasis on it, like we're going to go out there today, and we're going to work on it today, we're going to work on it tomorrow, and we're going to work on it Thursday. So we just got to continue and make it a priority and make those guys understand we have to secure football.
I remember last year whenever FAMU came here, it was a pretty intense game. Do you expect that same energy on both sides this weekend?
Oh, no question about it. At one point in time, Southern Florida A&M was the longest running rivalry in college football in terms of HBCUs, and then that ended, I think, in 2001, I believe, after we beat them, and they turned the sprinklers on us after that game. But, it was good to get back and playing them, and it's good that they're in the conference. But when you talk about two schools that are parallel, I mean, you're talking about from academics to athletics to alumni, fan support. I don't know if you can find two institutions that really mirror one another. And so it's going to be, I mean, Bragg is a place, you got to be ready to go in and play in Bragg. And they're going to be fired up and ready to go. And we're going in, we're not going in afraid. We're going in prepared and ready to play.
What's the status of Chandler Whitfield and Darren Morris?
Darren played last week.
He did.
Mm-hmm. And Whitfield, he's week to week. So we'll see.
What about Noah? Is he feeling all right?
Fine. Noah's fine. He's fine. Last night he was out there running around, bouncing around. He's fine.
What was going to be the challenge in going up against FAMU's offense?
Well, the quarterback is really good. He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman. He does a good job of getting them out of bad plays and bad situations. He's a leader, and so we just have to make sure that we stay assignment sound, we stay gap sound, and all those things. And then they have some good running backs. I talk about it all the time. You got to be able to stop. You got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to stop the run. And they do a good job of running the football. And they have some receivers that can catch the ball and do some things with it. So they're balanced in the offensive attack. We just got to make sure that we're disciplined and locked in and execute what we do defensively.
How do you keep your team locked in on a long road trip? It's a much longer road trip than you've taken so far this season to Florida A&M. How do you keep the team kind of locked in for a game like that?
Well, we're leaving on Thursday, so that's pretty much, we're gonna practice and then we'll leave. And we're loose. We're really loose football team. I don't like the guys to be tight. Coach tight, and I don't want those guys to be tight. And that's a travel day, and we'll have some fun and some good time going down there, enjoying ourselves, and then we'll lock them down that night for bed. Then we'll get up the next day, and then it'll be Focus Friday. It'll be just like Focus Friday from whether we're here or we're on the road. And one thing about this team, they really have taken what my parents used to always say to me is the time and the place for all things, and they've really embraced that. They know when to be loose, and then they know when to lock in to be focused. So, I'm not concerned with that. These guys have done a good job of staying focused and being locked in.
You talked about the secondary. They're third in the FCS right now. What makes this group so special?
Those guys are football players. They're very physical, very aggressive, opportunistic. Those guys communicate well, and they care about one another. Those guys will, you see them together, they're always talking, even when they're off the field, they're in a group, talking on the sidelines, even on game day. They're talking and always, and then film, they watch film, they complement one another. And the thing that they understand is, we're competing to play, but everybody plays, and that's the thing that we always talk about. Everybody has an opportunity to play, and so now when you get an opportunity to play, you can't go out there and let the flow change because now you're in. Everybody it has to stay the same or it has to get better, and those guys trust one another. So that's what makes it really good about that.
Herman Brister, you get that fumble late in the game. How impressed have you been with him?
Oh, I've been, Trey's a football player, and he loves to be around the ball, and he's athletic. He comes from a football family. His grandfather, legendary high school coach here in the city. His dad was a high school coach at one time, and now is an educator. So, when you grow up in a household like that, that gives you a leg up sometimes. And I don't think he takes it for granted. He takes it well, so that helps.
What are you looking for this week that you maybe didn't see last week as far as stopping the run?
Just better execution. The 63-yarder hurt us because guys were out of position, but just want to see guys. We got to really pay attention to detail because that's the thing that you have to do when you play against teams that really spread you out. They want to spread you out, but then they have big, strong backs that like to run football. So you can't get caught up into the spread thinking it's going to be pass, and then they start running the ball because they have some big linemen and, like I said, big, strong running backs that you got to pay attention to.
Any more questions for Coach Gray? Thanks, Coach Gray.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.